Hey guys, welcome to the Color Me Mike podcast. So just a quick disclaimer up here at the top. Anything said during this podcast only reflects on me and or the guest. Sonity has nothing to do at all with anything that's being said here. Sonity is just a cool boba milk tea shop in Fremont, California that is kind enough to let us record the podcast here at their shop and kind enough to hook us up with some boba milk tea drinks. So everybody just chill and enjoy the episode. All right, Louie.
Almost unfortunate that you brought video back for me.
Is that a problem for you to video? I can turn that monitor around so you're not aware of it.
No, it's all right.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's keep the microphone about a fist away from you. You've done podcasts before, Louie.
I have.
Yeah, I mean,
I've done and I've not followed the rules of those podcasts. Do you know what Blake's podcast is?
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called.
It was called Family Records, but it was just like a whiskey drinking podcast.
Yeah, him and his cousin.
And I told them that I hate drinking whiskey, so it was literally they brought PBR. I drank PBR on their whiskey podcast.
Did they? You know what? They didn't even tell me when my episode came out. I don't know if it's ever been out. Did they let you know?
The second one isn't out, but like it seems like I don't know where Blake is, so it did seem like they kind of took a break. But the first one's out. I'm really rambling on that one. But in the second one, that was the one where they brought PBR. The first one they thought I was going to bring absinthe because I used to tell because I did one of the worst hobbies I ever did was I collected absinthe during the pandemic, which is just costly. And do you know what absinthe is?
Yeah,
it's I regret it, but I just have a lot of it, like an amazing amount of it that I don't need.
It's supposed to be ridiculously strong. I've had it, but I don't know if I had the real thing.
It does. Well, the thing about it is you're supposed to drink it diluted. And everyone, you don't want to hear this when you pay that much for it, but everyone's like, oh, it tastes like licorice. And you're like, no, it tastes like anise, fennel, and wormwood, but it tastes like licorice.
What color was it when you drank it?
It's green, but it's like a light green.
That's what I said too. But you know, like my cousin who lives in Europe, he said, no, the real thing is like more clear, whitish.
There are clear absinthes, yeah. But the green, I think, comes from the wormwood. That's like the whole gimmick about it, but yeah.
Okay. So I guess I just had a different version of it then. Right?
Well, the one that you're not supposed to have is like the Czech Republic one. They like light.
Oh, those Czechs.
Those yeah. Did you hear what I was gonna say?
No.
I was gonna say Czechoslovakian like an idiot. Like it was the 80s and we're still going against.
See, there you go with your references again.
Yeah, freaking.
Yeah, where did all these old references come from for you, man? Because you're definitely younger than. You know, these like Czechoslovakia, how many people, you're 23, right?
Well,
most people your age are not even going to know about the fact that it is two different countries now at this point.
A lot of it to blame is probably Opie and Anthony or like just podcasting or just knowing, it's just listening to old comedians. But before I got to Opie and Anthony, I was to South Park. So that's probably like a big thing about it. I don't know. I just know stuff.
Can you believe that South Park is still relevant like to this day?
They're relevant, but they definitely hit a bump in their later. I stopped watching like in season 15, and you can tell by then they were like creatively tired or whatever. Do you remember that? Do you remember what happened?
No, I never got that far because right like when they're nearing their peak, the first like 4 or 5 years, I moved overseas to the Philippines and spent like 7 years over there.
Their peak, as in like season 1?
No, it's like when they really started to hit like more mainstream success after Bigger, Longer, and Uncut came out. Right, because that's when you knew they really hit the mainstream.
Yeah.
Right, when that movie came out. So not too long after that, I moved overseas to the Philippines. So I really missed out on like South Park's next 7-8 years, and then I never really got back into it.
Okay.
So like I don't know like if there was like a drop off in the quality of their material, but they seem to still be relevant at the very least.
Do you know how their writings differs from like The Simpsons and
Family? Basically it's down to the wire every single week, right?
Yeah.
It's really Trey Parker basically comes up with I don't know how much Matt Stone is really involved. Honestly,
he's considered like the thing on the side that no one really knows.
What does he really do? Because it seems like it's Trey Parker that's really doing Kyle. Everything. Yeah, but in terms of like the creative aspect of writing the episode, it's really Trey Parker, right?
I don't know.
Because there is a documentary about it.
Yeah, 6 days a week. I think it's just about the writing process. It's just Trey making Kyle laugh. They were filming the Human Centipede episode with the iPads. Remember that? Yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh no, that thing about 6 days a week. It was working for them up until definitely when it hit Trump. Because then they really. Because do you remember how during the Obama episode, they really did film 2 different episodes with Barack Obama winning and with McCain winning? They made 2 separate episodes.
Oh, really?
They
I didn't
just
know that.
banked on, I think on the season with Trump, they just banked on Hillary winning. And then it ruined their whole like outlook, and then they had to reconfigure their whole season.
You know what? I knew that Hillary wasn't going to win.
You know, well, I was in senior year government, AP government, when Hillary lost, and that was pretty good. Like, I remember that. My teacher had a live stream of Susan B. Anthony's gravesite with women putting this was like the day before, or the day of the election, of girls putting "I voted" stickers on her gravestone. And the next day, it was every teacher being like, "You guys, there's no class today." It's just, it was pretty happy. That was pretty happy.
Yeah, it was pretty surreal because even though, like, if I had to bet money, like I said, I was betting against Hillary. I voted for her, but when I was seeing the results, the live results, I was still in shock. Like, oh wow, I was actually, this is really happening. This guy's winning.
For every person that says I bet on Hillary, Trump supporters were not thinking Trump was in it. You look at like a sports game where it's like Trump supporters were thinking we're gonna lose this so that it doesn't hurt them more. Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember that at all.
The whole, like, literally the final question of the debates were like, Trump, when you lose, like that was because the question was he going to accept the election? That was like the whole.
Yeah. They obsessed over that. Was he going to accept the election results?
And SNL really. Do you remember how douchey SNL was during all that?
Yep.
And then the moment, it was pretty good timing though for Dave Chappelle to host.
Yeah.
Right? But that stupid Hallelujah song made them look so bad.
Yeah, because I remember when it came out, that whole grab him by the pussy thing, and SNL did that thing where Kate McKinnon playing like she's already celebrating. Yeah, this is going to end it. It's like, if you're paying attention, it's not going to do jack shit against this guy.
And then they deleted one, the week, because do you remember what made, I don't think it caused Hillary to, like, a lot of things caused Hillary to lose, but it was that thing of, who's the FBI director?
Oh, it's Comey.
Comey, so, yeah, he brought up Hillary's thing again. And then SNL made a skit about it. That skit's not on SNL. Literally every skit right now is on SNL except for that one. It was really annoying to see.
Yeah, the thing is, like, when that whole grab him by the pussy thing came out, I remember I was working for a real estate marketing company doing videos and photos, and I was working with liberal people. Yeah. And they were talking about it. They were really outraged, but they were all guys, and I was telling them, "You come on, guys! Have you never said anything stupid and fucked up to impress or make your friends laugh? This is what this is. This is literally just the dude is just talking shit." And
it's people point out that it's ironic that the guy that listened to it, he was the one that got fired.
Yeah, he's the one who actually had to face consequences. But like, I don't believe that Trump really grabs him by. That's literally just talking shit between guys. If they get mad at that, the shit we say between each other as comics. Oh my God.
Pretty much.
But it's literally just talking shit. It doesn't mean anything. It's not real. But yet, like, these guys, they wouldn't acknowledge that fact. Like, oh, you guys have never said anything like that ever.
I think a similar moment to that, but I was too young for it. Were people like that when Tiger Woods, when people were finding out all these different affairs that Tiger Woods was having? Because there were guys that were like, how could he just ruin his career?
Oh, no, those guys are full of shit. They're just trying to score points with ladies if they say that.
I remember like that happening, but I don't really remember how adults were being like, oh, this guy, how could he throw it all away? And it's like, no, people could see that.
Yeah, who had a great take on it? I don't know if you're going to remember the Best Damn Sports Show period.
That was Norm's show.
No, that was the one with Tom Arnold, John Sally. It really was the Best Damn Sports Show period. The guy, because you know how they'll always have either ex-athletes or in this case a comedian, and they'll have that one professional broadcaster to kind of like hold the team together. That guy was a fucking hack, but it was the best show period. And John Sally had a great take on it. He just was telling people, guys, what the fuck do you expect? This guy's a professional athlete. Of course he's doing that. That's what professional athletes do.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, that's why I think if you're a woman and you marry one of these NBA players or just a professional athlete in general, in the back of your mind, you gotta be kind of like expecting, okay, when this guy's out on the road, he's probably having some fun.
I think that I heard Canseco talking about that. Jose Canseco.
Yeah, Canseco, my favorite baseball player, dude.
That's your favorite baseball player?
Yeah, dude. When I was growing up as a kid, he had that 40-40 club. The 40 home runs, 40 stolen bases. He was the first guy to do it.
It's unfortunate that the injuries, but he was at his best during the home run derby, like the home run race, right?
Yeah. It's just it was it's a sad story. I want to say sad story, but yeah, injuries definitely put a stop to him. If he went over the 500 home runs club, he probably would be in the Hall of Fame. But he was my favorite player.
I could see myself being annoyed. Like if I had to put myself though in that time of him snitching, I could see myself being annoyed at Jose Canseco.
Yeah, I think that's. Yeah, snitching on other pro athletes like that, that's something else.
He milked it compared to he just milked it. I'm trying to remember. Juice, that was the name of he has two books. He has Juice and then he has another one.
Well, I will not say to be fair, but to put it in context, I think obviously he wasn't smart with the money that he made.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was doing like the celebrity boxing too. So anytime someone does that, they need money.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he was just taking that book for everything it was worth. And yeah, well, of course, if you rat and saying that something like 75% of the league's on steroids,
Yeah.
you're gonna get more news coverage, and then your book's gonna sell a whole lot more.
That reminds me of Vince McMahon. Have you heard him just barely getting like I think he's getting sued right now for like all the hush money. He has to like.
Oh, what happened? I saw a little bit about that on YouTube. What happened exactly?
I guess there's been like sexual allegations at WWE, but like if you wrestling fans probably know the most that like this is on like the top of like whatever iceberg is under that. Like the contractor thing is what annoys the most people about wrestling. I don't know why I'm acting like I'm the HR for the union. Yeah, I don't care. But yeah, it's just funny seeing like all these things just like.
Oh, there's your drink, Louis. Oh, real quick. I mean, you can go ahead and grab it. Yeah,
I will grab it. All right.
There you go. So Louis here is having a black sugar brulee latte here. It's probably one of the best drinks here at Sonic Tea and just in the Bay Area in general. Yeah, I'm plugging Sonic Tea as they let us shoot. But no, honestly, you guys know I do Boba Diaries. Sonic Tea is one of the best places around here, and this is the gold standard.
Not to fumble this like Xavier did.
Yeah, go ahead and mix it up, stir it up. You should have shaken it, but it's
am I
okay.
supposed to hold it up to the camera to give a live demonstration?
Product placing? No. I mean, I have the intro for this podcast is the making of that boba drink.
When I was a kid, there was like a 2-year period when my TV was stuck on Channel 7, so I had to watch everything on Channel 7, and I literally remember memorizing like not the Time Life commercials. But like it probably was. It was like the Time Life sounds of the 70s commercials. I hate not the music part, but like when they go back, like they bring in like two one-hit wonders, and they're like, "That was great." I just remember that so much.
Well, I don't know if you're old enough to. You're definitely not old enough to remember this, but you know so many old references.
The Clapper, of course, I remember.
No, the Clapper, but there's this country singer Anne Murray, and late night commercials. She was just selling albums of her just covering every other person's hits.
Yeah.
And I just think because back in the days before, I want to say before cable, but in early days of cable, you're just watching Fox, ABC, CBS, or NBC, and that's it. And late at night, they show a lot of those infomercials, and there's a lot. She
was a country singer covering wide ranges of music.
Wide range of like classic hits, and she's selling it, and it's like.
You ever hear a cover though sometimes with a song and you're like that? I prefer that over like the.
Definitely.
I heard like that song that's in Ghost, Righteous Melody.
Sing it.
No.
No,
let's not kill the audience.
Oh,
yeah, no. There's a guy. He did a cover of it that I heard where like the piano it sounds darker in tone. It's pretty good. Don't know who it's me. No. Yeah.
No, there's actually there's that song. I don't know if it's a band or his name is Magic. The song's called Rude. Why you gonna be so rude?
Oh, I remember that. He was a Canadian. He was a Canadian Rastafari or whatever.
So, but there's this band called Walk Off the Earth. They do a lot of great covers. Their version is 100 times better than the original of that Rude by Magic. It's amazing. They got a big following on Facebook, YouTube as well. But but their cover is just phenomenal. It's way better than the original.
I was young at that point, but I hated a lot of the hits at that time because a lot of them were like African inspired. Do you remember that? Where it's like, am I wrong for thinking that everything was like, oh yeah. I just remember hating that.
Well, everything, I mean, especially music, fashion, everything goes through cycles, right? And as soon as something becomes trendy, like, I would say early, I think 2007, 2008, what became trendy was anything that like sounded club driven, like that you could hear at the club with club beats. I mean, Neo came out with that song, Closer.
I thought,
and I just can't pull myself away under a spell I can't break. I just can't stop. You might be too. So he came out. That Craig David came out with a club song. They were all sounding the same.
I'm really nostalgic about 2007, and I would say it was more like orchestral. So it was like Leona Lewis had like her biggest hit, and that was like unavoidable by the radio. But Viva La Vida also came out in 2008, and that was like the song of the decade. Freaking, I don't know. I just think at that point things got weird. Hey There Delilah, probably the song that I think changed music, and it got like way more weird. Was Dog Days Are Over. Music seemed to change. Like there was like a new ear that people had for music.
Yeah,
Was like
Florence and the Machine, Dog Days Are Over. You know what? I remember hearing that on the radio over here, and everyone was raving about it, but I just could not get into it. I like their other song better. What the hell is the name of it? I
have no clue.
I know, it's like when you're humming
Let's
something.
Let's just do this for 3 hours.
Yeah, yeah. Guess what Mike's humming here? Shake it out. Shake it out, shake it out. Shake it up, shake it up.
That was Taylor Swift,
right?
right?
No. That's a different Shake It Up.
There's two Shake It Up.
Yeah. No, it's. I think it's Shake It Up. No, but it's Florence and the Machine. It's a great song. I much prefer that over the Dog Days Are Over. I don't know. I can't get into that song. But
I liked it, but that was definitely a point where like I just noticed that like music was like. I think if that song never came out and then somebody that I used to know came out, I don't think people would have gotten used to it yet. I think
I have a gripe with somebody that I used to Gotye.
Yeah,
that's like, I have to say, like, when I heard that song, I knew right away that guy is gonna be a one-hit wonder.
You think so?
For sure.
Yeah, but that was if you could, because that was the same time that Fun was out. So I just thought I remember that. I remember like. Everything
were you into Fun?
No, I was not into Fun.
I couldn't stand Fun.
No, I can't remember what I was into at that point. I think at that point I was trying, because I was young. That's the problem with me, is like you have to think like, all right, Luce was a douche and trying to stick out. I think at that point I was trying to get into Stone Temple Pilots and not.
Oh, you were going back in time.
I was trying to go back. Yeah,
dude, STP is fucking amazing.
STP,
I love STP. Yeah, that was. I mean, that's my time there. That's when I was a teenager when STP.
They're really underrated. I remember I would listen to Plush a million times, and then someone pointed out like, yeah, that song doesn't rhyme. I was like, damn, that's insane. Did you know that?
There's some parts in there that rhyme.
No.
Yeah, let's look up the lyrics right now. I'm hella curious, because that's one of my karaoke jams right there. Got time to wait for tomorrow. To find out.
You're not adding the grunge twang, Mike. What are you doing?
That's a Plush lyrics.
You're really Americanizing it. You gotta add that Seattle heroin needle to your arm and then get into it.
No, but that's a great karaoke song. That and Interstate Love Song, STP. Those are great karaoke songs, man. Okay, Plush lyrics. I'm looking it up right now. And I feel that time's a waste to go.
This is Mike already realizing
where you going to tomorrow? Go tomorrow. That rhymes.
What? The word tomorrow rhymes with itself?
Go
tomorrow?
Go and then tomorrow. That rhymes.
Say it again. Do the stanza again.
When I feel the time's a waste and go. So where you going to tomorrow?
All right, cut this part out.
Come on. No, that rhymes. Go and tomorrow rhymes. Then I feel it.
All right, now I don't want to be more fact checked.
Yeah, no. It's like, there's definitely, there's not a lot of rhyming, I would say. I guess that is impressive, when a song can pull it off.
What's the
Interstate
Big
Love
Empty?
Song rhymes.
Big Empty is the song that I'm thinking of. That's my favorite one, because I was wondering The Crow. Remember that? That was the one that's like...
The Crow, man.
I know.
Dude, you were like, what? You were probably 6 years old. Maybe, how old are you? You were 23? No, you weren't even...
I was not born. No.
Yeah.
I was just as alive as Brandon Lee during that.
Yeah.
Get it? Because he's dead. All right.
During the release of it anyway.
We were both equally unliving at that point. That's what's going to kill me, Mike. It's going to be all these dated references, even though I'm young.
Well, no one's already getting your sports references. Come on.
You know what it is?
To be fair, Len Bias, even like sports fans to this day, like I don't know how many NBA fans are gonna know who Len Bias is if they're your age range.
They're gonna know it just to piss off Michael Jordan fans of like, what if Len Bias? But like, there are moments in my comedy where like I'll just find a fact and I'm like, oh, I got to talk about this now for 3 months until it bores me. Like the thing that I will never let go right now is that I'm the same age as the kid that slapped his mom on Dr. Phil. Do you remember that?
I know. I never got into Dr. Phil.
It was just a really viral clip, but that was the point where everyone's like, how could he slap his mom? But kids my age were in support of that kid. And like, but he was gaslighting his mom in that video so hard where he's like, how do you like after he slapped her, how do you like? And she wouldn't slap him back. Like, I legitimately think kids now are not as bad as kids from last generation.
Ooh, I gotta watch this clip. This sounds really interesting.
It's awesome. And if you want to know how I look like as a kid, it's exactly how that kid looks like. He just looks really like me. That's it. It's a shame.
Wow. So were you really into Dr. Phil, or just that particular clip
I was
went
into
viral?
YouTube, so that clip was really viral at that point.
I have to say, months ago I was going down a Dr. Phil rabbit hole, where I legitimately enjoyed watching these pieces of shit get torn apart by Dr. Phil. It's actually quite fascinating. I can see why this is a successful show.
Was staged. A lot of it, like there's a
Oh,
guy.
was it? You're breaking my heart here, man.
Well, okay.
It's real. What are you talking about?
The guy that he yells at, the misogynist. Do you remember that guy? He looks pretty funny. I've seen people on forums use his icon. Do you remember who I'm talking about?
No.
This is that same time where that kid slapped his mom. There was this guy that came to Dr. Phil wearing aviators, and he called himself a pro misogynist, and he just used to like do stuff. But it was his name is I forgot his name, but he's a famous YouTuber right now, and he talks about that experience. He went in their stage, but what they did get, they got bum fights. They did go after bum fights, and I learned about bum fights from Dr. Phil. I did not know, so I didn't think it was real.
I mean, you're definitely too young for Jerry Springer, but you know about it, I'm sure.
I've seen Jerry Springer. I mean, yeah, I was cooped up with a phone and YouTube, so it's like I just know random stuff.
I mean, that's when you got bigger, you know. They're not bum fights, but just having these pieces of shit on a show and having fights come out, and then you know, you people love to watch it. I really enjoyed it too. Like they used to. I don't know if you know about this, but they used to come out with these videos, these VHS tapes of. It's like it was kind of it's like almost a mixtape of Girls Gone Wild and Jerry Springer Uncensored
combined.
Yeah, combined.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
no.
And honestly, I enjoyed the Jerry Springer Uncensored more than the Girls Gone Wild.
Didn't they bring out girls like? Am I wrong? Didn't they bring out girls like go on lingerie on Jerry Springer? Like, I remember I have images of like girls taking like their onesies off and then pulling off like bikinis.
Probably. I really remember the fights more than anything, and then his final thoughts after having 55 minutes of just basically I want to say a shit show, but like the most baseless like debaucherous show. And then he'll come in the last 5 minutes and try to be heartfelt, and there's a moral to be learned at the end of each show kind of thing.
I am into like TV drama. Like, you ever seen, this is a YouTube documentary I ever saw. You ever saw Who Wants to Be a Millionaire in the UK?
No.
There's a story of the family cheating to get the $1 million, and they have it all recorded, and they were able to prove that the guy cheated because they had microphones everywhere, and the wife would cough every time the answer was right.
Oh.
But this family, like, the girl was in it, she lost. The brother-in-law was in it, he lost. And now the husband of the girl goes on. He's considered a dunce compared to all these three, but yet he wins it, and this is shocking the whole studio as this is happening. Yeah.
So this is all on YouTube that
it's all on YouTube of how they did it, but yeah.
So you spend a lot of time on YouTube, man.
It's pathetic, Mike. It really
well, I do too. I'm not judging, trust me. I mean, I feel like YouTube's probably the one I'm most addicted to out of the social media platforms.
You don't even consider it social media, but
technically it is. I mean, should it not be? I mean, what defines it? I guess
it's just a media. It's just, I don't know, but I mean, now it's annoying, and now how the whole content creator thing started, as opposed to like I'm just a YouTuber.
Why? Why is that annoying for you?
I don't know. I think I'm just talking out of my ass, Mike.
No. Come on, let's burn some bridges.
I think it became more. I don't know. It seemed like people were getting a lot more entitled about what their career was at that point.
I get that.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah. But there were things that I would see on YouTube that were like, or no, not on YouTube, but like that was like when reality TV was big. Like when people were just viral on YouTube. Remember, like I do remember catching the whole Flavor of Love thing on VH1. That's what people considered VH1 to be like at its like bottom of like the rock bottom of what they were playing. But I do remember liking all that.
Flavor of Love?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
You have no clue what that is?
When was it? I might have been overseas when this happened.
This was 2006. This was definitely.
Oh, I was definitely overseas. Then.
Flavor of Long Sheet. No, I'm trying to think.
So what was this about? Flavor of Love.
This was like all those dating shows. Like it was like it was definitely The Bachelor. But then VH1 found a way to do it where like they got celebrities to do The Bachelor. So it was like Bret Michaels, Flavor Flav. I'm trying to remember what else. But then they would have spin-offs from contestants on that show. You don't.
So who were they trying to go out with?
It's pathetic how much I know about reality. But you've never seen that clip of Pumpkin spitting on New York on Flavor of Love?
No, I was overseas.
People know about
it. I'm sure
it was just a really big moment on TV. I have to thank my brother just for like being this much of a degenerate and watching all this. I did see that live, but then New York got her own spinoff. There is one called Megan Wants a Millionaire, where it was literally a gold digger. You know, like how on reality TV shows, it would show their name. So it would show their name and literally their net worth, because it was just Megan wanting a millionaire. That one, I'm pretty sure there was a murder, and then they had to cancel it. Like somebody got killed from the show.
I missed all of this being overseas. The last thing I remember watching on VH1 is, you remember they used to have Behind the Music on VH1.
I saw the remake of that, but
Yeah, Behind the Music, and then they had VH1 Legends. Legends is basically exactly the same thing as Behind the Music. I don't know whether they're two different series, but I loved watching those. I love seeing like the story behind the bands and behind the music, and not seeing the drama, but seeing, I like seeing how the cookies made, like, so to speak, and
how the cookies made.
Yeah.
Like,
have you never heard that?
No, I've never heard that.
I'm probably saying it wrong. There's some sort of saying like that, like you get to see how the juice is squeezed. Well, that sounds a lot more naughty than.
Yeah.
But there's something about like seeing how the
cucumbers peel. I see what you're
something
saying.
like that. Yeah, I like getting behind the scenes and seeing how the creatives. Yeah. And I like hearing the stories of how they like built up.
I just never got why people would want to be on Behind the Music if it was if people were just waiting for the second half of it rather than the first half of it.
Well, I think the thing is like a lot of the bands that they featured were bands that weren't relevant anymore to begin with, right? So it's kind of like a resurrection of them, like their relevance in the mainstream, because that would generate interest again.
The one that I remember watching that kind of shot was the Bobby Brown one, and not even for what he did. It was just that in the 80s there was this period where people liked little boy bands again, like the Jackson 5. Like he was in New Edition, and have you ever heard New Edition's music?
Yeah, of course.
It just sounds like it's from decades before. But I also felt like this during learning about swing jazz. I was like, why doesn't this ever talked about and people only remember grunge? This is horrible.
Dude, New Edition, yeah. I mean, when you hear like their first album, yeah, you know you're in the late 80s, early 80s really, because by 1996 they had a reunion album, and I was a sophomore in high school at that point. So when they first came out and being little kids, it was definitely, the 80s, and that was my jam, man. Got to cool it now, got to cool it now. Ooh, watch out. Oh, look at you!
Yeah. No, I know.
Songs,
I know. Well, I just remember watching those Behind the Music.
No, it was great. Dude, New Edition was my jam.
Have you ever seen that clip of Bobby Brown doing Mr. Telephone Man live and like destroying the band?
No.
Like in the show, they point out they're like, what made the band quit? Like, what made you leave? And then it cuts to hit a live tape, and they're all doing it. They're all just singing, "You Got the Mr. Telephone Man," and then all of a sudden he grabs the mic and he starts Freddie Mercurying it, and all the girls are going crazy. And then the band, like you see other bandmates being like, "Yeah, we had it at that point." That's pretty funny.
The thing of Bobby Brown is like, when he married Whitney Houston, like Whitney Houston was the darling of America at that point. She had just done.
Can this only be described in a what's his name, in a Ariana Grande, Pete Davidson kind of way of how could this be happening? Or
no, it was more so she had just done The Bodyguard, and then The Bodyguard soundtrack was just number one forever. That big "I Will Always Love You." She could do no wrong. And she ends up marrying Bobby Brown, and he just drug her down with it. You talk about taking someone down with you.
Yeah.
I mean, she never really recovered from that. She became a drug addict. She lost her voice. It's like, God damn, you talk about someone dragging you down with them. That is like the worst example of that. And it was, happening in front of everyone's eyes, and she was just oblivious. She was just so in love with this dude.
Yeah.
And hopped up on drugs. Like, she just did not give a fuck.
So you pretty much just Yoko Ono'd her. It was just that.
I guess you could say that, but he wasn't breaking a band up or anything like that. But but basically her marrying Bobby Brown, that was the downfall of her career.
Systematically.
They just ruined her career. And then they end up like breaking up too, like 10 years later. It's like, God damn.
Yeah, all this stuff I'm definitely lost on.
Yeah, I know. So that's one thing you don't know about.
Well, if you ask me definitely a question after something that I know, I'll be like, I have no clue. It's definitely that. Like one time I was watching TV, I was watching like America's Best Dance Crew. Do you remember that?
That I do remember.
That's why people my age remember the Jabberwockies so much because they were on that.
Yeah.
And I remember one time I just saw that Randy Jackson, and I just told my brother, this is my brother's like 12 years older than me, and I would just say random stuff. So I'd be like, so Randy Jackson is one of the Jackson 5. And my brother's like, yes. And he let me believe this for years until I looked it up. Yeah. He's an asshole, but yeah.
America's Best Dance,
I hated that show.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was, obviously very talented, very entertaining. But to me, it's like, well, what's the end goal here? Like, they get a prize, but I was like, are they going to have like a professional dancing career after this. It's pretty much the show, and that's it.
We were talking about this about America's Got Talent, where it's like, and this is something that's brought up. You know what they win on America's Got Talent, right?
Yeah, what do they win?
They win gigs in Vegas, and like the thing is,
there's no cash prize.
There's a cash prize, but it's built on you doing your act in Vegas, and if you're and it's built on like an hour. So like it's obviously how a comedian can win it, and they can do it. But if you're say like someone that just does something with your dog, like there are people that just have their dog do math on that show. And for an hour you can captivate people's attention with that. Like that's the problem with it.
You're a fan of that show, aren't you?
I love to hate it. I hate
I know because you and Xavier were talking about like the comedians going out there for, and it sounded like you definitely knew the comedians who were going on the show.
Well, if you look at the compilation of all the comedians, all have some sort of disability. That's the thing that infuriates me about it.
Kabir Singh was on it. He doesn't have a disability, does he?
Yeah. It'd be funny if I just ran.
I know. Yes, he does.
No, I don't know, but yeah. I met him at Kirby's. I met him like me and Xavier went to Kirby's the day he posted about a party because they were having the showing of America's Got Talent.
Yeah, this was recent.
Yeah, right? This was months ago.
No, but he had another like some similar event recently. I think
really?
this past week on Thursday. Yeah.
No, this was like months ago. This was when we were still at the Florence, and we just went there because Iman's like, "Oh, you gotta go," for no reason. Like, once again, and then we went there, and then he was just drunk. So when I met him, he gave me a big hug, like I was there for him all the way. And it was just like, this is stupid, because they said there was going to be an open mic, and then one of the comedians like, no, there's not going to be, and that's it. We just had to stick it.
It's kind of amazing the lengths we go to get stage time.
When they say there's an open mic during an America's Got Talent showing, and we still go, and we're just
It's like I remember. I mean, you went to Santa Cruz with me one time, but I remember the first time I was driving down there. It's like, I can't believe I'm doing over 100-mile round trip just to do 5 minutes for free. But it's like, it's 5 minutes in front of an actual audience, which is so much more valuable, you know? How little what hurts.
It's funny how little that hurts me because I don't drive. Like, I can't put that into gas. I'm just like, whatever.
No, but it's like, because I listen to a lot of like podcasts by stand-up comedians, and they talk about the old days, how they would drive 3 hours, just to do like a 10-minute gig. And I remember before I was doing stand-up and I would listen to these podcasts, I was like, man, I would never do that. Are they out of their fucking mind?
During the pandemic, it did feel like that. It did feel like you were willing to go everywhere just to see an audience or just to see something that wasn't, say, the Florence.
Yeah, so when I found myself driving down to Santa Cruz at night, there's no streetlights on 17.
Yeah.
No car. I couldn't see where the hell I'm going. It's like, wow, I'm really doing this just to do 5 minutes for free. This is like, but you're happy to, honestly.
Yeah.
Because this is just what it takes. And you know how like rare an opportunity it is to do an open mic where there's actually a crowd. So you can get some reliable feedback on your jokes, whether or not they actually work. It's like, you're willing to travel for that. Like, you've been doing it a little bit longer than I have, right?
I've been doing it since March of 21.
So not a little. You've got like 9 months on me then, something like that.
9 months, but it was a bad first months because there were only so many mics. Like there were only 3 mics that I could think of.
Because it's so hard to gauge. I mean, this is something you and Xavier I talked about before, but let's just do it on the podcast so the people will listen to the podcast.
Stealing jokes.
All 5 of my followers, stealing jokes.
We just talk about that. Taking people's premises.
Yeah, you got your book of other people's jokes, right?
Of course. I hated that. There was a point where I used to keep on making that joke, and it was like becoming a crutch, and I hated that.
But it is a good joke. Don't get me wrong. It's a good. It's.
I think it's an excuse to look at your nose. I don't know. I have a really negative opinion. I remember the first joke that I made. They got people to clap, and I was not a fan of it. It was a joke about Mansers. Do you remember that show?
No.
It's
one of those things I might have been overseas.
What was in the Philippines, Mike?
Yeah.
What was playing?
Yeah, I mean,
was it just the Three Stooges playing in the Philippines?
No, they'll show some things like American Idol and some popular like drama shows and things like that.
No, were there Filipino game shows that were like popular there?
Yeah, definitely.
Like,
game shows are huge in the Philippines because it's a way to. What they do with game shows in the Philippines is they have the poor as contestants because it's a way to distract them from the reality of their own lives and keep them from basically uprising and forming a movement.
Uprising?
Yeah, this was game shows really became super like big mainstream and popular during the Marcos tyranny when Marcos was a dictator, or that's when game shows really flourished because it was a great distraction from the dictatorship that was going
according
on.
to like the news, the Philippines have had then 3 straight dictators. It was like Marcos, Duterte, which every Filipino I do ask, they're like, nah, he's all right.
No,
but
yeah,
I remember 2016 because it was like such a Trump shadow over everything.
Mm-hmm.
Brexit happened, and then people were like, "Oh, this is like the shadow of Trump coming." And then Duterte got elected, and then people were like, "He's the Filipino." Do you remember that?
He's not the Filipino Trump. I'll tell you one. So far, Marcos has only been Ferdinand Marcos has been the only dictator. After that, there were elected presidents,
And
and
what
there
about
was
this
no
new
other.
one?
The new, I mean, Duterte. Well, let's get to Duterte first. He's nothing like Trump because when he actually has hands-on experience, he was the governor of a place called Davao, and he actually turned that place around.
Yeah.
Okay, it used to be a very dangerous place, and he made it probably one of the safest, most efficient places, especially in terms of like emergency services with the ambulances. He turned that place around. The thing people have to realize is Philippines is not America. It's not Europe. It's a completely different culture. You have to do what works for that culture. You can't expect American style like policies and governing to work in the Philippines. No, it takes a different thing.
Let me ask this: are the Philippines more Spain, or are they more Spain influenced, or America? Because it used to be part of America. It used to be a territory.
It's honestly it's both. Because the thing is, historically speaking, all the former like countries that were colonized by Spain, they're all poor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then none of them are flourishing now, as opposed to, there's some British colonies that actually, are doing very well. But anything that Spain touched back in those colonization days, they're really, really poor. So Spain has a big influence in terms of food, religion, Catholicism. Obviously, that's a big thing, and just like just cultural values in terms like family, things like that, because like honestly Filipinos are practically the same as Mexicans. We're practically carbon copies of each other because of the Spanish influence. The American culture really comes in more so in the form of English. English is really widespread over there, and the style of democracy that's technically on paper in the Philippines, on paper it's American style democracy. In practice, it's not, because it's just a different culture. You can't
How do the Philippines view Douglas MacArthur? Do you know who that is?
You're talking about the general?
He's the general that surrendered the Philippines.
And then he said, "I'll be back.
I'll be back."
Dude, there's statue to him there on the beach in Leyte when he came back. Commemorating him.
That guy was batshit.
This guy came back. At least he did come back.
He did come back, but then when he went to Japan, they considered him a god, and then he was like, "Let's nuke Korea."
Well, I mean, everyone remembers, or knows about, the bombing of Hiroshima, but obviously there was another nuclear bombing, right? That a lot of people don't talk. They dropped 2 nuclear bombs, but leading up to leading up to the 2 nuclear bombings, so they actually killed more people with the fire bombings they did on villages leading up to that. Really. So I mean, I don't know. What can you say though? I mean, this is like the world was at war, right? We're talking about wartime policies. It's hard to judge actions of war during peacetime, right? That's a different thing. And so it's the same thing like with Philippine politics and Philippine government. You can't judge it based on Western standards. So Duterte is not like Trump in that he actually had a government position and he was actually really effective. Yes, what he was doing in Davao was throwing drug dealers off of helicopters. And that sounds horrible to UN organizations and everything. But you know what? It fucking worked. It fucking worked. Yeah. And honestly, something like that is really what's needed in the Philippines, just because of just the outright corruption. And I'm not even talking in government, just like everywhere. It's just so widespread. It kind of takes someone like that to actually really make a difference.
Do they have gun control in the Philippines, or are guns just banned?
You know what? I think on paper it is, but not really. I'll tell you a quick story about that. Okay, here's how lax gun control is. My wife's really into shooting. She loved it. For Valentine's Day, I took her to a gun range.
Yeah.
So she can shoot. It's at the mall, but everything's at the mall in the Philippines. Dental offices, churches. You can find everything at a mall. But you know what? How I got the gun there at the gun range? It's just a yellow, legal pad. I just wrote my name down.
Yeah.
They put the Glock down. Here's some bullets. Walked away. That's it.
Wow.
Nothing stopped me from loading that gun and just shooting everyone up. But mass shootings is just not part of the culture over there.
You ever hear about Mormons in Mexico? You ever hear about that?
Oh yeah, you mean you're talking about like the compounds they have over there? Yeah,
because
Mitt Romney's family.
Yeah, they talk about how the way that they get around it is they have to declare themselves as gun ranges, and then that's how like their story, like them fending off the cartel. Even there was that one story of like, do you remember that there was like a border story like a couple of years ago of them taking one of those Mormons, and people know it. I'm pretty sure we both saw the Vice documentary about it. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I just knew about it. I don't know. It's like one of those things where you know it from hearing it from other places, but you don't exactly know where. I'm sure you have that kind of knowledge all over the place.
Just the Vice documentary.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, but you know why those Mormons were down there to begin with, though, right?
Was it for marriage or no? What
was
it?
It
was for
it was the whole well, it's a polygamy thing, being an outlaw, but they didn't want to give it up, so they moved down to Mexico where they were still allowed to do it.
Blood enriched. No, it's not. It's like a blood rights to blood or something. It's like where over there they are killing heads of Mormon leaders. Like they're killing each other to be the reigning Mormon leader of Mexico.
Oh, really?
That was in the documentary touched on.
I didn't know about.
Yeah, because they believe in blood. I forgot what it's called. It's not called blood atonement, but it's something else.
I just know that like Mitt Romney, when he was running for president of both times, that's one of the things they always pointed out. Hey, his family has a huge compound, in Mexico.
Yeah.
Which, have you ever met an actual Mormon?
No, actually.
I have. I've met a few, and they're actually some of the nicest people, you'll ever meet. It's just, they have this, crazy belief system founded by this 14-year-old who claims he has this magical rock and he talked to God. And
Joseph Smith was 14?
He was a teenager. I don't know if he's 14. It might have been 16.
I thought he was like an adult, because whenever you see like drawings of him, he's just like this guy who's like in a suit. Or he's like in a dress.
No, he's a teenager.
He was a teenager during all that?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's what it's based off of. Although, to be fair, I mean, is it really any crazier than what any other religion believes in?
That's the point made, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the same thing with Scientology. I know the whole Xenu thing, and it's like, but is it really any crazier than believing
that it was written by a sci-fi writer, though?
That's the most prolific sci-fi writer ever, right? Like, this is obviously a sci-fi story.
Yeah.
It's like, did you watch that documentary, Going Clear?
No, I haven't seen that.
Because what they talk about there is, like, when you reach the highest level, they're going to show you, like, the secret papers, right? And essentially, what it comes out is, like, just a bunch of gibberish. It's almost like rough draft notes for, like, another novel, sci-fi novel. And that's what the secret papers are.
Oh, they're like the sequel, or they're like, yeah.
Yeah, and then, like, one guy was talking about, like, former members, like, man, if they just showed me this from the beginning, I would never join this bullshit, cult. It's like,
well, by then you're so in, and then it's like I'm pretty sure I need like a fact checker, like in real life, for how much shit.
And I wish I had a young Jamie here.
I know we do need a Jamie. I'm about to say the Richard Gere origin is that he's Buddhist now, but that he was a Scientologist, and then
true.
Once he left, they gave out the gerbil thing.
Yeah,
and that's why people believe it.
Well, that's that is part of their policy. Is you destroy and attack anyone who comes after a church or who leaves their church. That's one thing they show in Going Clear.
Like if I was a Scientologist, they would just show people my set, and then they'd be like, "All right, this guy."
Yeah, or not even like your set at your home. Yeah,
No,
I know. I get it. It's like it's a little bit hacky. Come on, Louis, you're a better comic than that.
No, I'm not. I'm just as bad as you expect.
You know what I love? I told you. I don't know. It was this week, right? No, it was earlier this week. When you are doing like your Len Bias jokes or your sports jokes.
I stopped doing the Len Bias jokes.
How you just start imploding on yourself because no one gets the references.
Will do that, yeah.
I love it. It makes me laugh.
I've killed sets by people thinking like, all right, now he's just being too mean to us. Yeah.
But you know how it's
One time I was just like I was at Williams and I made a joke about Leonardo DiCaprio. And I made a joke about The Revenant, how like there was that rumor about the guy raped the bear, and then the guy's like, "Oh, Shutter Island." I was like, "No, The Revenant, you fucking idiot!" And then because I called him like, it didn't need that, but people were just laughing at like the absurdity and me like spitting acid at this guy for getting the wrong Leo movie.
You know what? It's like I find like those little things like the comics do. That's actually what makes me laugh hardest. A lot of times, and it could even be like I was at Penelope. And Luke Newman was doing this thing, and he did this really bad pun. And then immediately afterwards, he just said sorry, and that made me laugh so hard.
Wait, what did he say?
He said sorry.
He apologized
for the bad pun. It was like, oh, but he just couldn't like resist, but going for the bad pun. I was like, oh my god, it made me laugh so hard. It's like little moments like that. It's like, oh, I love that.
There have been moments like that. There have been moments where the comic I'm going to talk about, I don't know if I should say his name, but he douchily said once that whenever he hosts something, he invites chaos.
I know who you're talking about.
You know who it is?
I know who you're talking about.
Well, he's a hack. Let's get this straight. He's a hack. He's from the third world country that is San Jose. And that's all I'm going to say. All right, so did you get it?
No, I was thinking about someone else.
Who are you thinking about?
I'll let you know afterwards.
Xavier, no.
I try as much as possible. I try not to name names.
No,
not saying something
he did a joke and he literally glitched, and I just made fun of him. That he was just because he did a setup and he just looked like he was being programmed to not there was a malfunction in his delivery. I just made fun of him for that. No, it's funny. Yeah.
I mean, we all have those glitches every now and then. All of a sudden, even though you've been doing a bit. I wouldn't say forever. You've been doing it for a good amount of time, and all of a sudden, you just say it out of order for some reason.
I've done that.
And it's like, what the fuck? Where did that come from? And now you're just trying to reassemble the bit to still make it work. Yeah. It's like, I was like, what the? You know what happens? But we all have those moments.
So how about this new dictator or the new president? How's he?
I don't know, but the word of mouth. Obviously, he's the former dictator's son, right? So it's like,
oh wow.
You don't know that. Yeah, he's Marcos. He's Ferdinand Marcos's son, and the big. So I'll give you the inside scoop, right? The big thing he's promising is, all the billions of dollars worth of gold that his family, his mom and dad stole from the Philippines. He's gonna give it back and spend it on the poor. That's the big promise. Obviously, that's not gonna happen, all right? But another thing is supposedly he's actually really smart. Because he was educated in America. He's kind of been groomed for this moment for the past 30 years. So
this sounds like a bizarro Justin Trudeau, where his dad had a legacy in that place, and instead of embellishing it, he's just trying to. When he was elected, how many people were asking him about what his dad did?
Yeah.
Was he getting shit for that?
No, of course he was getting shit for that because his dad's. Was the dictator that had to be overthrown and stole billions of dollars worth of gold from the money. And of course, he was given shit for that. But Filipinos also have a very short memory. Do you remember? And you can easily buy votes by, promising the money. And he's promising a lot of things. And he did really well in debates, actually, in tough debates where he was being asked difficult questions. He had really good answers that had substance to it.
Yeah.
Whereas his opponents were just doing typical talking points, just, basically just being cheerleaders. Yes, we can do it. Siskumba, or just having idealistic ideas, but no real substance behind their idealistic.
You ever seen
notions.
Canadian politics and Canadian debates? If they catch you being slightly American, they will bury you for that.
American in what sense?
Just the Canadians in politics, literally, their parties are Democrat and more Democrat. And that's what it is. There's no Republicans, but it's just the less Democrats want American things, and the more Democrats are how dare you try and be like America? We're Canada. We're individual. We're a country. Because that's the last thing Canadians want is just to be America, which is what they are, the shadow of America. And yeah, it kills them in debates.
Dude, I love Canada, or I used to, but it's kind of crazy, the direction that country's going in with the Trudeau's taken.
Yeah.
It's kind of, the thing is, we're going to get political here, but what the fuck? I don't give a shit. We'll talk about.
We got political?
No, why don't we get
about Spike TV's Mansers, and I still want to tell the joke because it's so bad.
You're so hell out to that joke. But okay, let me just say this about Justin Trudeau. It's and just basically, it's those who are left, and the people on the left are going so far left that they're basically fascists at this point, and that's a direction that Canada's going in.
And Trudeau was taking the cliche things that people would do on social media, when he had that one transgender bill or whatever. Someone asked him, why are you doing this? He's like, because it's 2017. And it was that's not a real answer. It's just you saying the year,
Yeah, so, okay, that's all I have to say. But go ahead and say your Mansers joke, dude.
All right, well, the Emmy no, Mansers was really bad. Mansers would ask questions like, how do tits get bigger? This is literally, the show was the show was what type of person, if you were a cannibal, what race of person would you prefer to eat? And they would, do you want to know the answer?
What's the answer?
What do you think?
If you're a cannibal, what kind of race
of people would you eat? And Mansers goes deep into detail
okay,
about.
that's a good question. You know what? I would probably want to go Samoan because they got a lot of fat on them, and the fat gives a lot of flavor.
I imagine that being like the gamey type of human to you, but no, they don't even. I don't even think they touch on some. It's Japanese. I remember that.
Really? Why?
Yeah, because based on like leanness. I don't know.
No, but the fat is where you get the flavor.
I think it was referred to as like the chicken of, which is such a stupid thing to even.
The chicken of the people.
I would watch this and just take it as fact. Like, yeah. But the question that I had to joke about, they were like, skydiving sex, is it possible? And then that was the whole joke of me being like, who asks this? And I was like, this is the punchline that I regret ever writing. But it's like, I was like, I've been embarrassed swimming before, but this takes to whole new heights. Turn off the podcast. No, I got claps for that, and I was like, I hate this feeling. This is so stupid. I'm never gonna write like this ever again.
I mean, especially when you're starting out, you definitely have material that you won't even touch with a 10-foot pole at this point, even though you're like a year and change in. There's that big of a difference already, I'm sure.
That's a weird time though, because that's a time where it's like, I know when you started, you definitely had more material than you can say. I don't know.
No, I'm still that way.
And it's like with me, and you see with other comedians that either eject or they will keep on going. I used to get an hour early before Valley in and just walk around and pray I had 10 minutes of something to talk about. And it's like, that joke, I would only say it because what else do I have? That was like the problem, yeah.
You don't do much crowd work, do you?
I do it sometimes now, but no.
You don't enjoy it?
No, not really.
It's not for everyone.
Yeah. I would rather just do stuff that I wouldn't be allowed to do in typical places, or I'd rather just go over my normal set.
All right, let's pause real quick. I gotta piss really bad.
Fair enough.
Okay, we're back.
All right.
How was the piss, Mike? So, Louis, you got a little bit something on your mustache.
My apologies.
There you go. You don't have to apologize. Right here.
Right here, okay.
There you go. Now you got it. There you
go.
You got it. Yeah, it's funny. And me and Chris were just talking about that, how some people just don't feel comfy telling people they have something on. It's like, wouldn't you much rather someone tell you?
I would much rather that than me looking at the camera and then look afterwards.
Yeah. If I didn't say anything and then you watch this on YouTube, like, oh, Jesus Christ, I had some creme brulee right on
the first podcast with Blake. You know, like how the Starbucks, I was drinking the Starbucks Frappuccino cap. You know, like how they have like those air pockets or whatever? Throughout the podcast, I was constantly pressing and not even realizing
that's so annoying.
I felt like such a douche because I was like, what did that guy who's listening to the podcast and editing?
But they never mentioned it to you.
They never mentioned it to me, but then they were like, oh no, we were doing the same thing. It was just as unprofessional as I was.
But you know what? I mean, when you're first starting out with anything, obviously, you don't really know what to look out for. You're just feeling your way through, and that's one of those things where...
From radio, I do know what the most annoying things, like people don't like it when you chew on the radio or on the mic, and they don't like it when you burp.
Yeah,
when I was shit into
cough
this microphone
and all that, and I know. I mean, the drinking. I mean, there's no real slurping going on with these drinks anyway.
No.
It's fine, and it's kind of the whole gimmick with the pod. I mean, everyone sees the intro for this podcast. It's someone making a boba drink. Because this is basically my take on comedians in cars getting coffee. Instead of coffee, it's boba, and there's no cars. Because do you watch that? Are you into that?
I haven't seen it, but I mean, I know. It's like
you've never watched an episode, huh?
No.
You're not interested in seeing, like, if there's a comedian on there that you're really into, you don't want to...
Not really. I'm way more into, like, podcast, because that seems so, like, forced of, like, I don't know. I'd always think of, like... Have you ever seen that clip of Jerry Seinfeld trashing that one comedian on it?
Oh, yeah. You know who he's talking about, right?
He's talking about Xavier Burnham.
No.
I keep on.
No, do you know who he's talking about?
He's talking about Bobcat.
Yeah.
Yeah, he hated Bobcat's, like, whole demeanor. And like how the way he puts it is like he couldn't make an act, and that was why he had that whole voice thing.
Well, I thought he was hilarious when he was doing it, though. I was like, I
didn't know he opened for Nirvana. I didn't know that, and that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, because like finally you get to see a little bit of like grittiness to Jerry Seinfeld, because usually he's just so like prim and proper with his jokes and so like polished, and then finally you got to see just like this raw, like bitterness that we all have, and it just come out in a comedic way. And
he's known for being like weirdly douchey though. Like people, I think he said he was autistic, but like he's had interactions with people or like comedians that people have said like he's an asshole. But it's just him being like that weird or whatever.
Well, you see it on comedians in cars getting coffee. That side does come out a whole lot more. Yeah. So I mean, that's part of what I like about it. But I just like, excuse me. I know we're just talking about burping. There you go. Excuse me.
Sorry, I'll belch right now.
That is like I like that aspect of that show because you get to see a different side of him. But honestly, I like the whole gimmick, of the nice cars and everything, and then they're going around, and I like the music. I like the nice B-roll of the coffee being made. I mean, because it hits a lot, it checks a lot of boxes for me, as a filmmaker, videographer, and then as someone who really just likes stand-up comedy, getting to see these people.
It sounds like a no shit thing I'm about to say, but it just seems like a really forced take on comedy where it's like you're talking to Jerry Seinfeld about it.
I wouldn't say it's forced. It's definitely edited.
Yeah,
I'm sure. It's
I just preferred it. It was much more freeform on Opie and Anthony. Whenever they would have comedians on there talking to each other about what they would do, that was really good.
Well, I mean, that's what like Joe Rogan says. Like they were the first ones to really do it. Like of what you think of as a podcast.
Yeah.
Now
and also,
where it's
they
just
have
a hang.
That show also has like its own lore where it's like when you watch. Have you ever seen the roasts of Opie and Anthony
No.
comedians? It's really good because like it's all known. It's known that Keith Robinson. You know who Keith Robinson?
Yeah, I know Keith Robinson.
He
Yeah.
bombed horribly at the roast of Patrice O'Neal, and then on the roast of Jim Norton, it's mentioned how bad he bombed. And it's like it's mentioned on Opie and Anthony how it's just things that they know because they're aware of it. What gets overblown? Are you aware of like the cellar table and like how all they would do is just trash? That's overblown. That's something where it's like it's a lot douchier when you talk about it, but it was fun. Of like it's what you want to think we're doing when we're like at the back of a mic or whatever. But it's like they were great comedians doing it. And that's like the big difference.
Yeah, have you ever watched Cop Show on YouTube?
Cop Show. That's Colin Quinn's thing. Is that?
Yeah, Colin Quinn's like
Yeah,
the
he
web
has a lot of those
series. Yeah,
comedians
Keith Robinson was like his co-detective. No, I love it. It's a funny show. It's what's interesting about that is it's not getting that many views.
No, it was part of Lexus, right? Wasn't that what it was about?
I
It was like
I think so because it's definitely because I only watched it like maybe 6-7 months ago as I was watching it, and I realized, oh, this was actually like put out years ago, and they're just re-releasing it
Yeah.
on YouTube.
there are things that I think I really missed out. Like I missed out on Moral Oral. Do you know what that is?
No.
That was a claymation show on Adult Swim. It was like I thought it was me. I thought everything on Adult Swim back then, even though I watched like South Park, I thought everything on Adult Swim that was like religious was mean because there was a time like as a kid I was religious, and Moral Oral was a show about like a religious kid. He would be religious, but everything around him would be like really based in degeneracy. Like his dad was the one giving him like these father-son speeches about how to be a good Christian. He's a closeted homosexual in the show about claiming it was funny, but like it's because I've seen a couple episodes of it. I should be watching it just because it's kind of funny. You just don't get around to stuff like that though.
No, they put some really interesting things on Adult Swim.
Yeah.
On Cartoon Network. I mean, I was like, what's that one show with Rob Corddry takes place at a hospital,
Corddry? Oh,
Children's
Children's
Hospital.
Hospital.
Oh, like it was just what was it 15 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. I love that show. I thought that was one of the most
And also that
funny
fan
shows.
base that reignited, like that made Family Guy get uncanceled and back on Fox. Like, do you remember that?
Are you talking about that or Robot Chicken?
Syndication. No. Syndication of Family Guy went over to Adult Swim.
Oh, did it? I
when
didn't
it got
know that.
canceled, and Family Guy got canceled like after 2 seasons, and it would constantly be playing, and then they eventually brought it back.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It did get canceled real pretty early on.
It's just a really loyal thing that people are into.
Do you
But,
still
yeah.
watch Family Guy?
No, I saw when I was younger, and it's pretty bad.
Is it like The Simpsons where it's like it's lost its luster
On-
at this point?
No, The Simpsons was better to watch. Family Guy is much better to watch like on YouTube clips of, but it's like The Simpsons was better. I don't know.
Is it because it had storylines and what? Or,
You'd be invested. I was way more. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm trying to remember with like Family Guy what made me not like it. But to me, I compare it with, like the TV shows. Like I like Breaking Bad over The Sopranos. But you ever seen like a Sopranos clip and then you're just like stuck in like a thing?
Believe it or not, I've never watched The Sopranos.
Do you know who just died?
Just
The
died?
guy who played Paulie. A lot of people just died. Did you know that?
Oh, I know James Caan just died, right?
The Prime Minister of Japan got assassinated.
No way.
I called the hit. No,
No. I honestly, I don't pay attention to news.
I look it up every time before I
Why?
go up, because you want to touch on it. You want to like. To me, that's what's funny. I do remember.
I guess for you, you're definitely topical. You'll come up with stuff.
I do
Yeah.
think it's like as a comedian, you're juggling more. Is like you're trying to. It's like an exercise of like if you can talk about something now that's current. It's not that it's hacked, but it's like you are exercising that muscle of like, all right, let me touch on this thing that just happened.
I guess I exercise that muscle in that every time I go up, I'll riff on something that's happening in the room, or I'll riff on
Yeah.
something the comic said before me. I exercise it in that way. But in terms of reason I'm not topical is I don't watch the news honestly because it's just It's just too depressing.
Were you in the Philippines during the Russian invasion? I think I already asked you, but were you during when Russia invaded Ukraine?
Yeah.
I was at a mic that was really it was like considered old people. Me and another comedian would go to do clean material. That's how we viewed that mic because of what the audience typically was. But Russia had just invaded Ukraine, and I had a really bad joke for it. And it's like there are dumb anchors in my set where I will not shut the fuck up about them, like how we're talking about with Lem Bias or like with this. I talked about fries, and I mentioned how every fries is a gimmick. You know that? Like the one in Fremont.
Yeah, they have a theme. One's Aztec, one's...
the one in Fremont was like Tesla. And then I said the one in Ukraine was a mass burial ground. and people were pissed. People were visibly annoying. Annoyed at what I just said.
That's a great misdirection.
But it's funny because it was at that point, and like you want to, I don't know.
I get it. No, I get it. I don't have anything against it. I'm just saying I'm not that because I just don't fuck with the news because it'll just make you. It's like if you're constantly following the news or the politics, it'll give you a bitter outlook on life in general, and it's another source of stress to me that's easily avoidable.
Being political is definitely to me much different than just hitting on something topical. Like being political means you're trying to convince the audience something, or like you have a predisposed view of how the audience is like, yeah, this is dumb. But it's like, no, it's just your opinion. I don't know.
No, I'm gonna say when I say being political, I mean just paying attention. I'm not talking about in terms of being a comic, with politics or being a comic with the news. I'm just talking about paying to the news and attention to the news in general, or like getting caught up in politics in general.
Okay.
It just makes for a miserable life, in my opinion. If at least from my experience, if I make that like such a big part of my life, it's like I just don't fuck with it. I'll just focus on trying to improve my life. Yeah. Quite honestly, rather than pay attention, because you wanna craft a life where politics doesn't affect you.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a good life regardless of who's in power. Regardless of what's going on with the world, you should be able to. You want to have a life that's still gonna be good no matter what. Set yourself up that way instead of it being reliant on who's in power and what's going on with the rest of the world. Yeah. That's the kind of life at least I want and my wife and I want to set up for ourselves. So, and like big news stories, they're unavoidable anyway. Even if I don't watch news, I found out that Russia invaded Ukraine without watching the news. Like big current events, they're unavoidable. I'll find out about them. So
in comedy, though, I do find that when I was doing comedy right when the pandemic started, no one was joking about the pandemic to avoid sounding like a newspaper. That was something that you will notice if something is too big, no one's going to try and talk about. The Chris Rock slap, the day after that mic was at what no one made a joke about it.
Really?
Because it would be considered, and Pete jokingly made it like, if you do this, we will kick you out of the bar. Just because it was already overdone on Twitter. That's something where it's like, social media has ruined comedy, and like you can't be as new as you are before. But yeah, I do remember the Chris Rock. If something is too big or too topical, people will stay away from it.
Yeah, I like I said, I appreciate the skill because you're right. It is very much thinking on your feet and coming up with something that works right then and there. And when it works, it feels beautiful. It's like it kind of shows your skill set. You got that card in your deck too. I think it goes great if you can come up with something that works because that's what really helps if you're naturally funny to begin with.
Yeah.
Because then you can do stuff like that, then you can just riff on calling out something in the room, then you can be topical. But if you're not naturally funny, if it takes tons of work for you to write a material, that's going to be hard to be doing things like that.
Have you seen comedians now talk about something that was years before, though?
No, that's something I hear about, but I don't know if I've seen it.
I haven't seen it, but there are things where there are people who talk about comedians now that still try and talk about the Iraq War.
Yeah.
And that's something where it's like at that point you're literally just hitting on something that used to be good, now you're just not.
Yeah. So I honestly I try to do jokes that basically will stand the test of time in terms of that, where the references aren't too dated.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
But that's honestly, what sucks about getting a tape set. Can you imagine like having a tape set and it all just being top? That's something where it's like I would be ashamed. Yeah. Or like if I saw it.
It's not as if you basically like you start off your sets usually by being topical, just to kind of loosen yourself up and get some things off your chest real quick.
Me specifically?
Yeah.
I've noticed that I'm always just trying to work on new stuff, so probably.
Yeah. So it's not as if your entire act is being topical. So I don't think you have anything to worry about there. I think I think if I were to watch a clip of you doing it, it would just be me like, oh, he has that skill. He can create something, brand new without too much time. But because generally speaking, at least at the smaller indie levels, when you're submitting a clip to someone, generally speaking, they already know you.
Yeah,
They know of you anyway. They
that's a good
know
point. Yeah, it's
know
much
that
more-
you're not just doing topical shit. So they like they know your skill set somewhat, or at the very least they've heard of it.
Yeah,
Right? There's not too many strangers. It's kind of like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, right? We're all connected in some way. We have all heard of each other in some fashion or other. Right?
how did we get here? How did we get to 6 degrees of separation?
I don't know, man. Well, that's like I said. That's how I like to do these podcasts. We'll just flow, no plan. Let's just talk and let's see where it takes us.
Yeah.
But would you agree with that? What I'm saying right now?
I think you lost me with the moment you mentioned 6 degrees of separation.
6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Of
You ever
Kevin-
tried?
I did
You ever
play
tried
it.
playing that game?
I have tried playing.
Yeah, how
it,
good are you at that game?
I'm pretty bad at it. You ever play Akinator?
I don't know what that game is. What's
That's
that
an
game?
app. You just try looking for a random, like you try thinking of a name, and that name guesses it. But the whole point of it is that someone else has thought of that name. So if you try and think of the most specific media character, it sometimes works, but someone else might have thought of it just to be thinking like you. So you really have to think out of the box with it. Like give a character in any show, and that's already a failure. So you got to think really outside the box. You have to think of like a character actor. Maybe you have to think of their character in that certain show. And it's like I've beaten it, but it's like you got to really beat it, or you could just lie because it's gonna ask you like, "Is this the character you're thinking of?" You can just keep on saying no, and they'll be like, "Well, who the fuck is it?" That's what the game will tell, and then that's how you write in your answer.
That's
And then
fun.
This game's like that app is like 12 years. It's funny how thinking about how apps are old now and like how they're just like foundations of businesses. Like Angry Birds, like they used to be that thing. Yeah,
Yeah, I got hooked on Angry Birds for sure.
I got hooked on it. I got hooked on Doodle Jump. I remember that because I used to have an iPod Touch.
That one I didn't know. I don't know about that
Doodle
one.
Jump, that was the one where you like move from side to side with like that buddy thing that would be in there.
Yeah, didn't play that one. I was an Angry Birds guy, and then what's it called? Draw with Friends on Facebook. That became huge. That
I used
game.
to cheat with that.
Yeah.
I used to you could just say the word of what you're drawing.
Oh yeah, that's true. But no, something I want like you said something earlier about how do you feel about changing up your material depending on the crowd?
About if it hits me?
No, I just like like you're knowing that a crowd is a little bit more conservative, so you're just gonna do
No,
like
I'll
the
just
like
shit
the
on babies,
cleaner material, just so so you have a good. How do you feel about that? Changing
I think
things
any
up
comedian's gonna
depending.
call audibles on what they're gonna say before.
Yeah.
But I think what's cool
Does
is
it kill you on the inside?
no,
or
because what's cool is if you know that they don't like, you can play off of them not liking it. You can almost reflect upon what they're saying. I've seen comedians do that. Some of my favorite comedians, they go up and then they almost antagonize the audience, and then he plays to that until like once he does find a branching that they agree with, it's him almost like finding peace with them on some. It's really cool when you see it sometimes. Like
yeah, no, that's a great skill set to have. That if you can, if you're at that level, that's really impressive.
the only thing is, yeah, if it gets like where the audience members are like just not even interacting with you, that if they get up and then you just like you kind of have to call your audible before that. But yeah, I've seen it work.
Yeah. What's the quickest you've lost an audience? Or,
What's the quickest
Yeah.
I've lost an audience? I'll say this. I'll say for every person in San Jose that says Caravan is the toughest crowd, they're not. I got my first too soon at Caravan.
Oh, really?
Like someone yelled too soon during a joke over a person that does not exist. So they just said too soon for no reason. It was a joke that I wouldn't stop talking about it. It was about Miss USA and about how Miss USA jumped off of a building in New York.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
All right, so she is real. All right, maybe I was an asshole.
Yeah, no, that did happen.
Do you know why she died?
No, why?
The cause of death was depression. And then
Oh.
my joke was, yeah, at 100 miles an hour, because depression. That joke is more genius than you give it credit for, Mike. That joke is freaking, on the level of physics, it is a genius. But people, yeah, a couple got really mad. Like, it was just couples that it's like, Caravan was like this Mike that was like, oh, you could talk shit. And it's like, oh no. But Caravan is cool.
Yeah, no, people rave about Caravan.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because it's a late night mic. And it's like, and then you can do it after the improv, after the San Jose improv. And then, I don't know. But yeah, because it's definitely like a late night mic where you will see crazy shit happen.
You've gone up at the San Jose Improv is a monthly thing now, right?
Every month, yeah.
Well, on the first or second Wednesday, what is
Second Wednesday.
it? And you've been up a few times now. You've been able to
I've
go
been
up.
up twice. Yeah.
Yeah. How have your sets gone over there?
First set was good, and then every set after that, I knew I wasn't gonna do as good as the first one.
Why?
You just think about how, I don't know, you get a lot more conscious about, like, the first time I did it, I felt like I was tap dancing, and I didn't want to tap. You know what I'm saying when I say tap dance? Like, you just go into your, like, remember the competition that we were in? That one I felt like there was nothing. I did one ad lib thing, but it's like, after that, you just felt like you had to do your, which is what a competition is. That's why it sucks. But it's like...
But you did good at the competition we did. You had a great showing, man.
But it was just it's more fun when you're able to figure out something. Like, when you're able to get an ad lib from someone saying something really dumb and then you just hit on that. Or, yeah.
You know, that's what killed me about the Alameda comedy competition is because 3 minutes. I mean...
Yeah, we were talking about it. We were saying like how it wasn't enough to get something out of it as opposed to you doing your bits.
Yeah, because you're just forced to doing nothing but bits. I mean, granted, your bit should be killer anyway, but part of like what I do is like, you know, if I hear something in the audience, if I see something, I'm gonna go off on that. You know, that's part of what I did. And I remember when I was like halfway through my set, and I was going about, oh, you know what else Filipinos love, and someone in the audience just like said karaoke. And I couldn't go off on it because I only had 3 minutes. I just like, I was like, I heard that, but then I just had to keep on going. It's like, and it killed me. Like, fuck it, because that's something I could have. You can have fun with it. Oftentimes the gold isn't that. It's something that's in the moment that you just go off with, right? Something says it's like, it just killed me. You know that I couldn't go off with that. You know, so you're not really able to show who you really are as a comic in a setting. Like at least for me, anyway. There were people who killed it. When able to, I guess their acts are more tailored towards, you know, a short set like that. It doesn't deter from what they bring to the table. But I guess for me, it does.
From how I view it, it's like you can either attempt to just do your jokes and then you'll do your jokes in front of no one. And it's like, that's your goal. Your goal is to get that tight, whatever. And that's something where it's like, as a comedian, you're on. Like someone just flipped the switch. I'd rather have a set where it's like you slowly get, and then you're in, and you're in already. Like you gain their trust. I don't know. Being on and then people just being like, okay, we're listening to this now. Like that this person just, I don't know, I hate bad segues. I don't know why I said that. But all my setups
there you go.
suck.
Speaking of bad segues, there you go. All your setups suck. You know, I am finding that transitioning from one bit to the next, that's definitely one of the more challenging things, making a smooth transition.
To have so many bits on one thing that they're just supposed to transition into the other like that. Yeah.
There's definitely, you know, an art in that, you know, and then like, especially as you start doing longer sets, arranging your bits in a way that flows from one to the other where it feels seamless. It's not all of a sudden like, hey, speaking of dingoes, here we go. It was like
the best transition I ever had. It was an off-the-cuff moment where I was fighting with an audience member because they kept...
I already like where this is going.
Because he kept on representing the New Orleans Saints, Mike, and he was not a true New Orleans Saints fan. He kept on saying "who dat," which is the phrase for New Orleans Saints. And then I asked him who was our quarterback right now. He gave the wrong answer. He gave Drew Brees. And then it was immediately that. And then after this, there was an awkward silence of like, all right, let's just shit on this guy. And then I said, I'm really combative. And then but that's literally how the joke starts. And then it just looks like a good segue. It looked like a non sequitur. Like, yeah.
But you know, that's Jay Rich is the one I'm going to give him credit for this because we were hanging out. There was one night at Tipsy where I think Wally's mic got canceled, so everyone just came in droves.
Not as much as I thought.
Not as much, not as much.
Being like, oh, the waves coming. It did not.
Not as much, but there was definitely a lot of people hanging out.
Yeah.
Right? People were hanging out till 11:30, and I was hanging out with Jay Rich and Seamus, and Jay Rich, you know, fucking amazing comic, and we were picking his brain, you know, for some nuggets of wisdom, and he was talking about how he really likes to start his sets with just riffing.
Yeah.
And going off because he just found like, man, people laugh the hardest at like the stuff I riff.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like my prepared jokes and everything, they laugh, you know, they chuckle, but like the hardest laughs are always, you know, with him riffing, just coming up with stuff in the moment. And it's like I feel like that is where a lot of like the magical gold tends to happen. At least
there's a beauty in making it seem like it's all coming off the top of your head as you're all doing.
Yeah.
Like,
you know?
people like the phrase. And another thing, because then it does sound like now that just popped off during this whole writing. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, that's like going back to, you know, that's where your topical jokes, you know, come in, and that's where like me just calling something out that I see in the room, you know, that's where that.
Yeah, people like that.
Yeah, people, and I think it's a good muscle to have, you know.
Yeah.
It makes you, trains you to make the comedic connections really quick. And I do think it's a skill that can be developed. And obviously, just like with anything else, people are going to be farther ahead, have a different starting point. But I do feel it's something that can be developed.
Yeah, it comes with like knowing when your act is, and that's the problem but it's like the way I've heard people talk about having longer sets is like, yeah, they're riffing, but it's almost like they're riffing until they want to start their set of like, all right, this is done. But it's like, and you'll see people do it like sometimes when people are on the road, they say they talk about their location of where they're at the most. That's what I hate about. You ever seen a comedy special and like they always have to mention where they're at rather than just do. That's always something where it's like you got to just get used to that. But it's like other times, it's like you ever heard that Cat Williams special where he's just shitting on Jacksonville?
No,
it's really good because he's just shitting on Jacksonville.
I never got into Cat Williams. I've never seen him.
He's pretty good. Yeah. Because at his peak, he was just really charismatic and like he would talk about things unlike anyone else.
I just saw that video where he got beat up by that junior. Junior high kid was even bigger than him. I was like, this guy's out of his mind. That was a
horrible time to be a Cat
Oh
Williams
my god, I could not believe this guy was fighting with a junior high kid.
Look, Pimp Chronicles Cat Williams was the best, where he was like, I'd rather where he talks about going rather than give his kid $100 gift, he takes his kid to the dollar store and gives him 100 gifts, and how the kid and it's like the way he talks about the Michael Jackson thing. Everyone back then had a Michael Jackson joke, but his was just like concretely destroying. It was awesome, like that era of Cat Williams.
What I do like about him and that era of Cat Williams is he helped out a lot of up and coming comics, taking them on tour, and he gave them a living. Like what's Leslie Jones? She talks about that. She was struggling like crazy, didn't have any money. And he took her on tour, and by the end of the tour, she had like $56,000, paying her well.
Do you know who Some More is?
Who?
Some More?
No.
She was a black female comedian, but I like that Greg Giraldo joke where he's like, some more. You know what I want to hear? Some less. I always like that joke. I miss those.
You know who... I guess I don't want to burn his joke, but did you watch Fahim Anwar's special Hat Trick?
No. What is that? Wait. Who's special?
Fahim Anwar? You know Fahim Anwar?
No, I think I've heard of it. Is he an LA comedian? I think
someone
mentioned that. Yeah.
Dude, honestly, I have to say his special is the best special I've seen in the last 6 months.
6 months?
Like, because you know how you'll watch a special and it'll be funny, but it won't necessarily make you laugh out loud.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I do have to like say, in all fairness, video doesn't capture what the live experience is. I even noticed, because I record my sets, and if there's a crowd, I'll do a video of that set. I'll record that. And, like even if the people are laughing there in person, and then when I watch it back on my phone, it's like, it didn't really capture it.
It's never going to,
Yeah, so I get that. So the fact that when I'm watching Fahim Anwar's Hat Trick special, I'm laughing my ass off. Like that tells you how good this is then, right? Even on video, this guy's got me laughing that hard. I was like, oh, this is some killer shit.
It's funny how like laughing at things like when you're in a crowd, it's infectious to laugh. But you ever try watching a comedy special with friends? It's one of the hardest things to do to just try and laugh. Because for some reason, I don't know, everyone's self-conscious of when to laugh at stuff. Like that's why I like watching comedy specials alone. Yeah. But I don't know.
I don't have any friends, so I watch alone.
That's a good point, Mike. You have only made enemies with this podcast.
I wonder if that's true. I wonder if I am making enemies.
How many
what do you
enemies
think?
You've made?
Do you think I'm making?
I'll make my own podcast called Color Me Loot now.
No, do you think I'm making enemies with this podcast?
No, not that I know.
Because you've seen that Ari Shafir video where he for 3.5 hours at the Comedy Store he's just giving advice. I mean, one of the pieces of advice he says is, "Do not start your own show because the only thing you're gonna do is end up making enemies."
Oh, like that?
Yeah.
There are just people that are mad or bitter that they're not booked, but that's it. But like, have you said anything on this podcast specifically?
No, but I wonder if people feel the same way if I haven't had them on the podcast. The same thing that if you haven't booked someone on the show. I wonder.
I don't know. I was trying to think. Maybe some comedians just don't want to pod. With all this stuff, like with all this podcasting stuff or like just skits, I always look at it like I'll do it willy-nilly. But it's like, when it comes to comedy, that's when I find like stand-up, I'm a lot more picky of what I'm going to do. I'm just up to, I don't know. I think
picky in terms of what?
I don't think there are comedians that want to be on a pod. Maybe there are, but I don't know. Like, there are comedians that want to probably be on this podcast, but like I don't see it as like a goal that you need to be on it. Like, I think if someone asks you,
I wouldn't say it's a goal, but definitely I've had comedians like reaching out to me, want to be on it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't say necessarily it's a goal, but
was there a definite no in your head of like will never no?
No. Generally speaking, when someone asks, I'll have them on.
Cool.
I mean, Because I think I said this with Chris. The last thing I want to do is have someone on that doesn't want to be on, because it's gonna make for a horrible podcast, right? So if someone reaches out to me and they really want to be on, yeah, I'll have them on, because it's gonna make for a good conversation because they want to be here.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's what makes it. I'm not Joe Rogan. I'm not the kingmaker here. You know, I barely have any followers at this point.
Kingmaker of LA though. I can never get over that.
It's not just LA though. He's made a lot of people
there are New York
stand up
comedians that go on it, but it's like I'm so biased towards LA because I do think New York is just the better scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, whenever it seems like a New York comedian, he doesn't laugh at certain comedians. You ever notice that?
No, but like. Yeah, I mean, but like even Shane Gillis, he said like the first time he came on Joe Rogan, right?
He would try,
and they would fail. Yeah, but don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm sure Shane Gillis received a huge jump just from being on there.
He did.
Same thing for Mark Norman being on there. He received a huge jump. It's just that
I think I told you before. Norman was. I thought Gillis did better on the set, but I heard this new one. Norman definitely outshined.
Oh, you mean when Ari Shaffir was trying to keep up with Shane Gillis with the beer chat?
Norman definitely though. Like he kept on because then they touched
the wordplay thing.
The wordplay
right?
thing.
Oh my god,
stuck
that
out.
was so funny.
Yeah.
We were talking about that story of him. They're just eating at a restaurant, and that the waitress goes, "Excuse me, I gotta go reach for this," and he goes, "Jack Reacher." It's like he can't turn it off.
Well, what's it? Silver Hack. That was the one that
Silver Hack Gorilla.
Yeah. I've been thinking about this in terms of it didn't hit me as hard as I thought it would. You don't watch Cumtown, huh?
No, but you know what's funny is when Shane Gillis started getting in the puns too.
Yeah.
When someone said Cadence and he goes, Cadence Owens.
Yeah, Cadence. Yeah, he did say that. God damn it.
Oh my god, it's just.
What's funny was he kept on hitting on Ari because Ari, he was like they were talking about 9/11 and the Jewish conspiracy, and he was like, "We're already playing dumb," because Ari was just trying to like be like, "What's happening?"
Oh my god, that's.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things. That's why, to me, like Joe Rogan is kind of. So he's the template to follow in that he's built an empire and just doing the things that he loves.
Yeah.
I mean, mind you, Fear Factor gave him that fuck you money, which allowed him to really just focus on the things he loves. And he could say no to everything at that point.
I don't know if he was already rich though during news radio. Do you remember him talking about that?
No, I mean he's definitely richer than you and me, but he wasn't fuck you money rich.
Listen to because Ari Shaffir, people know about that 3.5 hour video of him talking about comedy. Listen to his album commentaries though. You ever seen those?
No.
He has album commentaries like comedians doing their first special. Rogan, he doesn't have doing his first special. He has Rogan doing Shiny Happy Jihad, which they filmed at Cobb's. You know that?
No.
They filmed that one. And do you know that special though?
No, I'm not. You know what? I'm a big fan of Joe Rogan's podcast. I'm not really a big fan of his stand-up.
No, there are some things where it's like the podcast, people like what they get out of that comedian more than just from their act. But it's like that special. No, Ari Shaffir interviews Rogan about that special, and they go over track. The cool thing about it is they go over track by track. You're listening to a special, and they listen to what the comic says after it. But it's a 6-hour thing that you're listening to Rogan talk about where he was as a comedian before that special, and it was news radio Fear Factor. He sucked at stand-up mentally. He wasn't in the right space because he was so showbiz for a long time. So then he finally had to like work at the Comedy Store and like work to make that new act. It's pretty good.
Yeah, but it was. I'm not sure if it was Fear Factor News Radio where Andrew Dice Clay told him, "Oh, you're on TV. Start hitting the road. You can make a career for yourself now because you're a known face and you're a known name." But I know like a lot of people don't like Joe Rogan because they think he's just Mr. fucking bro, but he's really not. If you listen to his podcast, he's a very he's a complex individual. He's into broer things like UFC and MMA and hunting, but there's other aspects of this guy, But I think he's just the template to follow into building an empire based off of the things that you're really passionate about.
You ever seen my bad.
No, go ahead.
You mentioned Andrew Dice Clay.
Yeah, okay.
Who is one of the most underrated comedians ever.
Is he underrated?
He is extremely underrated.
Is he really? Isn't he? He's a legend. Eh? Can you say a legend is underrated?
People still don't give enough credit to The Day Laughter Died. People still don't give enough credit as to what that special is. Do you know what it is?
Yeah, when he was just up on stage. I don't know if he's riffing, but he was like...
He is riffing in that special.
He's showing the reality of it. It's not just all like laughs, right? He's showing like, oh yeah, you're fucking bombing. He doesn't give a shit.
I had to listen to it twice in order to... Because the first time I listened to it, I was like, what is happening?
You thought, this guy had a bad set.
No, I was like, why? And then you understand why, and it's like, this is awesome. Like, I was laughing my ass off during the second time.
Yeah, I think that's something like... comics really appreciate that
Yeah.
special, but if you're not a comic, you're just listening to this guy like, oh, this is just horrible.
I think Chris Rock one time said that was one of his favorite specials.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
he went out and said that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why, Jim Norton, he puts out clips of him bombing with new materials.
Yeah.
Thank God, they show because it just makes okay if he's still someone at his level, still bombs, trying out new stuff. It just makes you feel so much better about yourself. Yeah, it is a process. It doesn't come out polished right away. It's a process, and it's encouraging. To people like us. It's like okay, the vets, these super killers. They still bomb trying out new shit.
I mean, Jeselnik filmed a whole hour. He filmed like a whole set where it's literally of his special, but he's bombing it. Have you seen that?
I don't know that. I haven't
That's
seen
like
that.
a known, but yeah.
Anthony Jeselnik, I loved his first few specials, but the most recent one,
Fire in the Maternity Ward?
yeah, something like that. It got to the point there where it became predictable because I know his pattern
I
now.
actually thought it was better because if you look at that one, he's actually trying to tell a story at the end of it of him going to. I liked it.
Maybe I gotta rewatch it. It's not that I didn't like it, but it's just I kind of saw the pattern a little bit more clearly now, so I could kind of predict, where he was going with some of it. So it didn't have the same impact on me as when I
That's
first
fair enough.
started watching him. And I was like, holy shit!
There are some people liking that, especially I thought there were others that were better, like that Alzheimer's joke of the smile on his face. You ever heard about that one?
No.
No. I might as well say.
I know. It's everyone knows it's his bit. You're not gonna burn it, and the special's already out at this point.
No, but it's the one where he talks about how there's an old man in his apartment, and he has Alzheimer's, and he remembers the only thing he comes back to is his wife dying, and every day Justin reminds him of that, so that the old man can have a smile on his face because his wife's fucking in the ground. And then, but I think there are better jokes about that. There are better jokes in that special, but it's I don't know. This is just based on what people like.
Yeah, all right, Louis. It's time to wrap this up. Where can people find out about your upcoming dates?
People can realize how bad I am at the Tipsy Lounge showcase. You can watch me get drunk and not like where I'm at in life. And
you shit on your bike at your showcase so much, dude.
I don't like where I'm at.
Yeah, this is turning into a great plug.
Here's
for
a plug. Buy Nina G's book just to see me prominently featured on it. Did you know that?
Yeah, I saw it. Because I had her on here to plug that book.
I'm in the chapter Decline and Fall.
Put the mic a little bit closer here.
Decline and Fall of stand-up comedy.
Yeah. There's a picture of you standing outside of the Florence.
Yeah,
and she's talking about the Florence.
My most hated.
And I think you're wearing the same windbreaker or one of the three that you rotate.
I'm wearing one of the Reeboks. I know that. I'm wearing the blue Reebok. Yeah, I'm in that. No, you can find me on Facebook. I only have one post. It's of the famous car flip. That's useless.
You're not very active on social media.
No, I should, because whenever someone's like, post that you're on this show, I'm like, I'm not going to post.
Yeah.
And I just don't. But it's I don't see the point of it. I don't see the point. I see the point in advertising, and I see the point of putting it out there because people share that. But in terms of friends will probably already know that you're on that show. I find that part useless.
Okay, so it sounds like Louis not making much of an effort in getting his dates out there.
No, I make an effort on websites, just not in my freaking social. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess you don't want to plug your Instagram
The only
or Facebook
people that
or
follow
anything.
me are degenerates. That's it. So they're not worth.
There you go. So if you're any degenerates out there, you can follow him. But is it Luis.Perez, Luis.Pre?
Oh, my Instagram? Or,
yeah.
Well,
but you don't post anything on there either.
No, but you could also see the car flip. If you guys want to see a funny video, Luis_Perez 406.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. Do you know what 406 is? 406 is the day I started comedy. That was April 6th. And then a stupid San Jose comedian said, 408, the area code, which is a horrible thing I need to be related to. I need to immediately delete that.
Well, I grew up in Eastside San Jose, so I think you and I have problems now, man.
This is not Eastside San Jose is not as good. No one. My favorite thing to watch is a comedian from San Jose mention that in not San Jose and then being like, "What is that? What are you talking about? It's not East Palo Alto. It's not that.
It's definitely not East Palo Alto. No, it's not on that level for sure.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, you're killing me. Okay. Well, find out about Luis somehow, magically, randomly running into him or something. All right, guys. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Hey, guys. So thanks for tuning into the podcast. And a big thanks again to the fine folks at Sana Tea for letting us record the podcast here and for hooking us up with their delicious boba milk tea drinks. My wife Krista and I review boba milk tea spots all over the Bay Area. Believe me when I say that Sana Tea is definitely one of the best boba milk tea shops around. Make sure to follow them on Instagram at SAN as in Nancy, and as in Nancy again, A19, that's sana.na19 on Instagram. And if you're listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, make sure to hit that follow/subscribe button and make sure to give us a 5-star rating to give us some algorithm love. Okay? Thanks for listening.